Number: the galaxy fears humans because they think they're ordinary. Captain Sarah Chen adjusted her coffee cup as the Times UES Wanderer Times dropped out of hyperspace near the Kepler Station trading hub. The gentle hum of the ship's engines provided a comfortable backdrop as she reviewed the morning reports. Nothing unusual: cargo manifests, fuel calculations, and a reminder about her sister's birthday next week. Just another routine supply run in what humans considered the boring Outer Rim territories. What Sarah didn't know was that 3 different alien intelligence networks were currently tracking her ship with the kind of attention usually reserved for superweapons. In the shadowy depths of Kepler Station, Zix Thera, the Vorthan information broker, felt his secondary heart skip a beat as his sensors detected the human vessel. The insectoid alien's compound eyes shifted nervously as he activated his emergency communication array. Within moments, he was connected to contacts across 17 star systems. "The humans are here," he whispered into his translator device, his voice carrying undertones of barely controlled panic. "One of their exploration vessels just arrived. We need to evacuate all sensitive operations immediately." Across the galaxy, similar conversations were taking place. The Corvani Empire's military advisors were pulling up tactical analyses of human civilian vessels. The Etherian collective scientists were cross-referencing human crew manifest data with their extensive files on what they termed Category Alpha Apex Predators. Even the ancient Celestial Accord, beings who had witnessed the rise and fall of countless civilizations, maintained detailed protocols for human contact situations. All of this concern centered around one simple, terrifying fact that every major alien civilization had independently discovered. Humans thought they were normal. Dr. Marcus Webb, the Times Wanderer's Times chief science officer, was completely unaware of this reputation as he ran his daily diagnostics on the ship's systems. In his mind, he was just doing routine maintenance on what he considered fairly standard equipment. The fact that their standard, faster-than-light drive operated on principles that had taken the Corvani Empire 3,000 years to develop didn't occur to him. To Marcus, it was just engineering. The ship's AI, affectionately called Aria, processed navigation data with the casual efficiency that had made alien computer specialists question their entire understanding of artificial intelligence. Aria wasn't programmed to be revolutionary. She was designed to be helpful, pleasant, and thoroughly ordinary by human standards. The fact that her emotional modeling algorithms represented a quantum leap beyond anything the galaxy's greatest minds had achieved was simply not mentioned in her documentation. "Sarah, we're getting a priority docking assignment," announced Lieutenant Jake Morrison from the communications station. "Base 7. They're very eager to help us with anything we might need." Sarah nodded absently, finishing her coffee. "Probably just good customer service. I heard Kepler Station really values their human trade partnerships." What Sarah interpreted as good customer service was actually a carefully orchestrated protocol designed to monitor human activities while maintaining the appearance of normalcy. Station Administrator Kelthara, a diplomatic Zentorian, had spent months developing these procedures after studying classified reports about human capabilities. The reports made for disturbing reading. Humans possessed what alien psychologists had termed catastrophic adaptability. The ability to treat galaxy-ending scenarios as mere inconveniences requiring creative solutions. They had been observed responding to situations that would paralyze other species with what they called making do or winging it. Even more unsettling was the human tendency to downplay their own achievements. When the human colony on Zarian Prime had survived a complete ecosystem collapse by developing new agricultural techniques in 3 months, their official report had classified it as pretty good problem-solving. When human engineers had designed a terraforming system that accomplished in decades what had previously taken millennia, they had described their breakthrough as not too shabby. As the Times Wanderer Times docked with Kepler Station, Sarah gathered her crew for the standard pre-arrival briefing. "Okay, people, standard procedure. Jake, you're with me for trade negotiations. Marcus, feel free to browse their tech markets, but remember, we're not exactly swimming in credits. Lisa, standard shore leave protocols apply." Dr. Lisa Rodriguez, the ship's medical officer, grinned, Any particular alien diseases I should avoid this time? Just the usual: don't drink anything that glows, don't touch anything that moves without permission, and if anyone offers you traditional delicacies, politely decline and find somewhere else to eat. This casual conversation about potentially lethal alien pathogens would have horrified most galactic medical professionals. Human immune systems were the subject of intense study across multiple species. Their ability to adapt to alien environments, process foreign substances, and recover from injuries that would be fatal to most species had earned them a reputation as biological impossibilities. The crew's casual banter about dangerous situations reflected another deeply unsettling human trait: their complete lack of awareness regarding their own resilience. Humans regularly survived scenarios that alien safety experts classified as certain death situations, then wrote brief incident reports describing their survival as lucky. As the docking procedures completed, Station Administrator Kelthara reviewed her approach strategy one final time. The key to dealing with humans, according to the latest diplomatic guidelines, was to avoid drawing attention to their unusual capabilities. Humans became suspicious and unpredictable when they realized others viewed them as exceptional. They seemed to prefer believing they were unremarkable, and most alien governments had decided it was safer to maintain this illusion. Remember, Kelthara instructed her staff through the station's communication system: treat them exactly as they expect to be treated, as ordinary merchants and explorers. Do not mention their species' reputation. Do not reference any classified studies. And under no circumstances should you suggest that their routine activities are remarkable in any way. This last point was crucial. Humans had an alarming tendency to exceed their already impossible standards when they suspected others were watching. There were documented cases of human settlements achieving technological breakthroughs simply because they wanted to show off a little for alien observers. Sarah led her crew through the station's airlocks, completely unaware that her casual stride down the corridor was being analyzed by 3 different intelligence services. Her confident, relaxed manner in an alien environment triggered automatic threat assessments. Most species required extensive psychological preparation before engaging with alien cultures. Humans seemed to treat such encounters as pleasant social opportunities. "Nice place," commented Jake, admiring the station's architecture. "Very crystally." The station's design incorporated Zentaurian aesthetic principles that had taken their civilizations centuries to perfect. Jake's immediate positive response and casual adaptation to the environment was noted by hidden observers. Human adaptability to alien spaces was legendary. They seemed to find beauty and comfort in environments that would traumatize other species. Marcus was already pulling up technical specifications on his portable scanner, comparing the station's systems to their own ship. "Interesting power distribution setup," he murmured, making notes. "We might be able to improve our own efficiency ratings by maybe 15% if we borrowed some of these ideas." His casual analysis of advanced alien technology would have impressed engineering teams across the galaxy. The fact that he was already developing improvements to systems that represented the pinnacle of Zentaurian achievement was exactly the kind of behavior that kept alien governments awake at night. As the crew dispersed to handle their various duties aboard Kepler Station, none of them noticed the subtle security measures in place specifically for human visitors. They were unaware of the specialized monitoring equipment, the emergency response teams on standby, or the diplomatic protocols designed to prevent any incidents that might upset these deceptively ordinary-looking beings. Most importantly, they had no idea that their simple presence had triggered galaxy-wide communications between intelligence services, military commands, and research institutions. To Sarah and her crew, they were just another small human vessel on a routine supply run. To the rest of the galaxy, the arrival of the Times UES Wanderer Times represented a significant event requiring careful management and constant vigilance. The humans were here, and they thought they were normal. The galaxy fears humans because they think they're ordinary. Middle act. 3 hours after docking, the situation on Kepler Station had escalated beyond anyone's expectations. It started when Dr. Marcus Webb encountered what he perceived as a simple engineering problem in the station's marketplace. "Excuse me," Marcus approached a Corvani merchant whose stall's power systems were clearly malfunctioning. Sparks flew intermittently from an overloaded junction box, while the alien frantically tried to save his merchandise. Looks like you've got a feedback loop in your primary conduits. Mind if I take a look? The Corvani merchant, Thorak Grimscale, froze. His species' military intelligence had extensive files on human technological capabilities. When a human offered to take a look at a technical problem, the results could range from miraculous to catastrophic, usually both. That is, the problem is quite serious, Thorak stammered, his translator struggling with his nervous speech patterns. Perhaps station maintenance should handle. Oh, it's not that serious, Marcus interrupted cheerfully, already pulling tools from his kit. Just need to reroute the power flow and install a simple buffer. Should take about 10 minutes. Thorak's distress signals reached Kepler Station's security office within seconds. Administrator Kelthara found herself facing a code yellow situation. Unsupervised human technological intervention. Her emergency protocols were clear, but implementing them without alarming the human would require delicate handling. Sir, her aide whispered urgently, should we evacuate the surrounding area? No sudden movements, Kelthara replied through gritted teeth. Deploy the technical monitoring team, but have them pose as casual shoppers. If this goes wrong, we need documentation for the insurance claims. Meanwhile, Marcus had already identified the problem and was implementing his solution. The Corvani power distribution system, considered a masterpiece of engineering by galactic standards, looked primitive to someone raised on human technology. Not primitive in a condescending way, Marcus genuinely thought it was a clever, simple design that just needed a minor tweak. There we go, Marcus said, connecting the last few components. The buffer should prevent any future overloads, and I've increased your overall efficiency by about 20%. Your power bills should be lower next month. The cascade of panic that followed this casual improvement reached across 17 star systems within the hour. Thorak stared at his power readings in shock. The human had not only fixed the immediate problem, but had optimized his entire electrical system using principles that Corvani engineers didn't even understand. Worse, the human seemed to think this was a trivial accomplishment. This is extraordinary work, Thorak whispered. Marcus shrugged. Not really. Pretty standard troubleshooting. My daughter could probably have figured it out. She's studying electrical engineering at university. This offhand comment about human educational standards triggered another wave of intelligence reports. Alien universities typically require decades of study to produce basic technicians. The concept that a human student could casually solve problems that challenged experienced alien engineers confirmed some of the more alarming theories about human cognitive development. Across the station, similar incidents were unfolding. Dr. Lisa Rodriguez had stopped by the medical center to review local health and safety protocols. As required by human space regulations, what she found there would later be classified as a first-contact medical crisis. I'm seeing some concerning bacterial cultures in your atmospheric recycling system, Lisa mentioned to Dr. Vorthok, the station's chief medical officer. Nothing too dangerous, but you might want to upgrade your filtration before it becomes a problem. Dr. Vorthak, a highly respected Etherian medical specialist, felt his mental equilibrium shift. He had been monitoring those same bacterial levels for months, following established galactic health protocols. The cultures were well within acceptable safety margins according to every medical authority in known space. You consider these levels concerning? He asked carefully. Well, they're not immediately lethal or anything, Lisa replied, reviewing her scanner data. But human safety standards require pretty clean air. I'd estimate you've got maybe 6 weeks before this develops into something that could cause respiratory issues for mammals. Want me to show you a simple fix? Dr. Vorthak's species had evolved in toxic gas clouds that would kill most life forms instantly. Their idea of clean air was laughably primitive by galactic medical standards. The fact that humans required atmospheric purity levels that exceeded surgical theater specifications was yet another piece of evidence supporting the impossible biology theories. Please, he managed, show me this simple fix. Lisa spent the next 20 minutes describing modifications to the air filtration system that would have impressed medical engineers across the galaxy. Her casual explanation of biochemical processes revealed a depth of scientific understanding that most alien species required specialized equipment to achieve. The key is understanding that respiratory health isn't just about oxygen content, Lisa explained while sketching diagrams on her portable tablet. You need to consider particulate filtration, chemical balance, humidity control, and biological contamination. Humans figured this out pretty early because we're kind of sensitive to air quality issues. Dr. Vorthak was quietly documenting everything, knowing that this information would revolutionize environmental health standards across multiple civilizations. The human described these concepts as basic knowledge that most people picked up in high school. Meanwhile, Captain Sarah Chen was conducting what she considered routine trade negotiations with station representatives. Her relaxed, straightforward approach to diplomacy was causing considerable anxiety among the alien officials present. So we're looking to trade rare earth elements for processed materials, and maybe some of those lovely art pieces I saw in the cultural district, Sarah explained, leaning back in her chair with casual confidence. Nothing too complicated. Just standard merchant exchange. The trade officials exchanged nervous glances. Human trade negotiations were legendary for their unpredictability. Previous encounters had resulted in economic agreements that revolutionized entire sectors, usually because humans undervalued their own contributions, while overestimating the worth of alien goods. Perhaps we could discuss the specifics of these rare earth elements, suggested Clethara, the chief trade negotiator. She was trying to determine exactly what humanity was offering this time. Sarah pulled up a simple inventory list on her tablet. Let's see. We've got about 2 tons of refined titanium, some platinum derivatives, rare isotopes from our mining operations on Europa, and a few samples of materials we've been experimenting with in our laboratories. The list of routine cargo that Sarah was casually offering represented resources that most civilizations would consider strategic materials worth fighting wars over. The experimental materials alone contained elements that alien scientists believed were purely theoretical. And you consider this standard merchant cargo? Clethara asked weakly. Pretty much. Sarah nodded. Nothing too exotic. We save the really valuable stuff for major trade routes. This is just what we picked up. Doing routine surveys and research projects. The concept that humans considered galaxy-changing resources to be routine byproducts of their normal activities was one of the most frightening aspects of dealing with their species. They seemed genuinely unaware that their casual scientific endeavors produced results that other civilizations spent centuries trying to achieve. Back in the marketplace, Marcus had attracted a small crowd of alien engineers and technicians. Word had spread about his simple modifications to thorax power systems, and several other merchants were requesting similar assistance. I really don't understand what the big deal is, Marcus confided to Jake, who had come to find him. It's just basic electrical work. I learned most of this stuff when I was 12, helping my dad fix things around the house. Jake nodded sympathetically, unaware that their conversation was being recorded by multiple intelligence services. You know how it is with alien tech. Sometimes their design philosophy is just different from ours. This casual dismissal of alien engineering capabilities as merely different, rather than inferior, demonstrated another unsettling human characteristic: their tendency to assume that all intelligence was roughly equivalent to their own. Most species in the galaxy recognized clear hierarchies of technological and intellectual development. Humans seemed to operate under the assumption that everyone was basically capable of the same things. Mr. Webb, Administrator Clethara approached with carefully controlled composure. I hope you're enjoying your visit to our station. Oh, absolutely, Marcus replied cheerfully. Everyone's been incredibly friendly. I've been helping some folks with minor technical issues. Nothing major, just small improvements here and there. The small improvements Marcus was describing had been classified by station security as potentially paradigm-shifting modifications to critical infrastructure. The economic and technological implications of his casual assistance would require months of analysis by expert teams. I trust your modifications meet with our safety standards, Clethara said carefully. Marcus looked genuinely concerned. Oh, definitely. I made sure everything was well within human safety margins. Actually went pretty conservative on the specifications, just to be safe. The revelation that Marcus had applied human safety standards to alien systems caused another spike in Kelthara's stress levels. Human safety standards were notoriously strict, often requiring protection levels that other species considered unnecessarily paranoid. If Marcus had designed systems to meet human requirements, they were probably safer than anything else on the station. As the day progressed, reports continued flooding in from across Kepler Station. The humans were behaving exactly as expected, casually achieving remarkable things while remaining completely convinced that they were ordinary. Dr. Rodriguez had accidentally solved a persistent medical mystery that had puzzled Etherian doctors for decades. She dismissed her insight as just connecting the dots and suggested that maybe the alien doctors hadn't had enough coffee that morning. Lieutenant Morrison had optimized 3 separate communication systems while browsing the electronics markets. He described his modifications as tiny tweaks and seemed surprised that anyone found them interesting. Captain Chen had concluded trade negotiations that would provide Kepler Station with resources they had previously considered unobtainable. She expressed satisfaction at getting a fair deal for everyone involved. None of the humans showed any awareness that their routine activities were being documented, analyzed, and reported to governments across the galaxy. They went about their business with the casual confidence of people who believed they were perfectly normal participants in a perfectly ordinary universe. As evening approached on Kepler Station, emergency sessions were being convened in capital cities across known space. The humans hadn't done anything threatening or aggressive. They had simply been themselves, and that was somehow even more terrifying than any deliberate show of force could have been. The galaxy's greatest fear about humanity was being confirmed once again. They possessed capabilities that could reshape civilization, and they thought it was no big deal. The galaxy fears humans because they think they're ordinary. Final act. The crisis began 12 hours after the Times UES Wanderer Times was scheduled to depart Kepler Station. It started with what humans would later describe as a bit of an emergency. Station sensors detected a massive energy surge approaching from deep space, a rogue stellar fragment ejected from a dying star system, carrying enough electromagnetic chaos to destroy everything within a 3-light-year radius. Kepler Station's sophisticated early warning systems calculated they had approximately 6 hours before complete annihilation. Administrator Kelthara was in the middle of composing her final reports when the human ship requested permission to delay departure. Control. This is Captain Chen, aboard the Times Wanderer *. We're picking up some unusual readings on our sensors. Mind if we stick around and take a look? Might be something interesting. The casual tone of the transmission sent ice through Kelthara's circulatory system. When humans found something interesting, the results were historically unpredictable. More importantly, their ship's sensors had detected the approaching catastrophe, despite using what they considered standard equipment. Captain Chen, Kelthara replied carefully, we are indeed experiencing an unusual situation. Our best estimates suggest evacuating the station would be advisable. Evacuation? Sarah's voice carried genuine surprise. Seems like a bit of an overreaction. This looks like a pretty standard stellar fragment dispersal pattern. We've seen this kind of thing before. Hey Marcus, come take a look at this data. The standard stellar fragment dispersal pattern that Sarah mentioned so casually was an astronomically rare event that most civilizations had only observed through theoretical models. The fact that humans had apparently encountered such phenomena multiple times was yet another disturbing revelation about their species' activities in unexplored space. Dr. Webb joined the conversation from the Times Wanderer's Times Science Station. Interesting electromagnetic signature, he mused, reviewing the sensor data. Definitely energetic, but nothing we can't work with. Sarah, remember that time we helped that mining colony deal with that solar flare issue? This is maybe 3 times as intense. Kelthara's aide whispered urgent translations. The solar flare issue, Marcus mentioned, had been documented in intelligence reports as a Class 7 stellar catastrophe that should have sterilized an entire star system. Human records described it as a minor inconvenience that required some creative engineering solutions. Captain Chen, Kelthara said with forced calm. Our calculations suggest that this energy surge will cause catastrophic damage to the station's infrastructure. Well, we can't have that, Sarah replied matter-of-factly. Marcus, think we can do something about this? Maybe set up some kind of deflection array? The concept that humans might attempt to deflect a stellar catastrophe using their standard merchant vessel caused panic across 17 monitoring stations. Emergency broadcasts went out to every major government. The humans were about to attempt something impossible again. Marcus was already running calculations on his tablet. Shouldn't be too hard, he announced after a few minutes. We'll need to modify some of our shield generators, recalibrate the deflector array, and coordinate with the station's power grid. Lisa, think you can handle the radiation shielding calculations? Jake, I'll need you to manage communications with station systems. Sure thing, Lisa replied from the medical bay. Should I prepare for elevated radiation exposure? Or are we going with full containment? Let's go conservative and plan for full containment. No point taking unnecessary risks. The casual discussion of procedures for surviving stellar-level radiation exposure triggered more emergency reports. Most alien civilizations required specialized facilities and decades of research to survive such conditions. The humans were treating it as a routine safety precaution. Jake opened communication channels with Kepler Station's technical staff. Control. We're going to need to interface our systems with your power grid and defensive arrays. Pretty standard procedure. Marcus is sending over the technical specifications now. The standard procedure Jake mentioned involved technologies that most of the galaxy's greatest engineers couldn't even understand, let alone implement. The technical specifications that Marcus transmitted casually rewrote several fundamental theories about energy manipulation and electromagnetic dynamics. These specifications, Kelthara managed. They appear to describe modifications to systems that we consider beyond current technological capabilities. Really? Marcus sounded genuinely surprised. They're pretty straightforward applications of basic field theory. We use similar setups on most human colonies. I mean, we've improved the efficiency ratings a bit, but nothing too revolutionary. The improvements Marcus mentioned represented technological advances that would have taken most civilizations centuries to develop. The fact that he considered them minor optimizations of existing human technology was causing existential crises among alien scientific communities across the galaxy. As the humans began implementing their solution, monitor stations throughout known space tracked the unfolding event. Every major government had representatives observing what was being classified as either first contact, beneficial intervention, or extinction-level technological event, depending on the observer's perspective. The Times UES Wanderer Times extended modified deflector arrays that shouldn't have been possible with a ship of its size. Marcus had somehow reconfigured their merchant vessel's standard equipment into something that resembled a cross between a stellar engineering platform and a theoretical physics experiment. Okay, we're going to need everyone on the station to coordinate with our power distribution network, Marcus announced over the communication system. This is going to be a bit like performing surgery during an earthquake, but we've done trickier things. Dr. Rodriguez was providing real-time medical monitoring for the station's population, using techniques that alien medical professionals found revolutionary. She had developed countermeasures for radiation types that most species didn't even know existed. Describing her methods as pretty standard emergency medicine, Lieutenant Morrison had somehow integrated the Times Wanderer's Times communication systems with every electronic device on Kepler Station, creating a coordination network that exceeded the design capabilities of both human and alien technology. He explained this integration as just linking up the computers so everyone can talk to each other. Captain Chen directed the overall operation with the casual competence that had made her notorious among alien intelligence services. She treated the imminent stellar catastrophe as essentially a logistics problem that required good teamwork and clear communication. As the rogue stellar fragment approached, the modified deflector array activated. What happened next would be studied by alien scientists for generations. The humans didn't destroy the stellar fragment, which would have required impossible amounts of energy. Instead, they did something far more elegant and terrifying. They changed its fundamental interaction with local space-time, causing it to pass through their location as if it existed in a slightly different dimension. The theoretical implications of this casual manipulation of reality itself would keep alien physicists busy for centuries. The humans described it as redirecting the energy flow around us, kind of like how a rock diverts water in a stream. As the crisis passed, and the stellar fragment continued harmlessly on its way, Sarah Chen submitted what she considered a routine incident report to human authorities. Encountered minor stellar phenomenon near Kepler Station. Implemented standard deflection protocols in cooperation with local authorities. No casualties, minimal equipment stress. Station personnel were very cooperative and professional. Would recommend this facility for future supply runs. The minor stellar phenomenon that Sarah dismissed in 2 sentences had been classified by alien governments as a universe-altering demonstration of impossible technology. The standard deflection protocols she mentioned casually had just rewritten fundamental laws of physics. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the entire incident was the aftermath. As the Times Wanderer Times prepared to finally depart Kepler Station, Marcus approached Administrator Kelthara with what he considered a helpful suggestion. You know, if you get more of these stellar fragment incidents, you might want to upgrade your early warning systems, he said, offering her a small device. I put together a simple detector array that should give you better advance notice. Nothing fancy, just improved sensor resolution and some basic predictive algorithms. The device Marcus handed over so casually contained technology that represented quantum leaps in sensor capability, computational power, and theoretical physics applications. Alien intelligence agencies would later estimate that reverse engineering this simple detector could advance their civilizations by several hundred years. This is quite generous, Kelthara managed. Marcus shrugged. It's really not a big deal. Took me maybe an hour to put together from spare parts. Besides, it's always good to help out neighbors. That's what people do, right? As the Times UES Wanderer Times departed Kepler Station and jumped to hyperspace, emergency sessions convened across the galaxy to discuss the implications of the day's events. The humans had casually prevented a stellar catastrophe, revolutionized multiple fields of science, and dramatically advanced alien technological capabilities. Most terrifying of all, they had done it while maintaining their sincere belief that they were just ordinary people helping out in a minor emergency. The final intelligence report filed by Administrator Kelthara contained a single recommendation that would become standard policy for all human contact protocols. Do not, under any circumstances, allow humans to believe that their actions are remarkable. Their tendency to exceed their own impossible standards when they think others are impressed appears to be unlimited. As Sarah Chen reviewed her crew's performance during the incident, she felt satisfied that they had handled themselves well in what she considered a fairly routine situation. The humans had no idea that their names were now known in every major capital across the galaxy, or that their casual heroism had just reshaped the political landscape of known space. They were, after all, just ordinary people doing what ordinary people do, helping others and solving problems with the tools available to them. The fact that their ordinary capabilities could reshape reality itself was simply not something that occurred to them, and perhaps that was exactly what made them so extraordinary and so terrifying to everyone else in the galaxy.